this is like another anxiety conversation. Basically, I stay awake, and when I'm really anxious, I stay awake because I like to be alive, is what it comes down to. A lot of my anxiety stems from the idea of mortality and the fact that death is, you know, the universal truth, such as time, which is the same thing. And I don't like that. So I just am not a fan of that. I have not come to terms with it. I have a couple books on death. I don't know what... I realized months after I bought these books that they're part of like a class. I don't know if it was college class or university class, but they were like textbooks, not like traditional textbooks, but just that class uses these books. I don't know if it was some type of psychology class or what, but they are on like basically like coming to terms with death and dying and mortality, and I have not read them yet. I would say they're probably more along the lines of self-help books, which apparently this year I've read more of than I've ever read in my life, because I've read 2. So, anyway, I mean, read more this year than I don't know, I think I've read 3 self-help books total, ever. Anyway, yeah, going to sleep. I have a really hard time going to sleep on time. It's just really easy for me to stay up and just like be productive and do things or read or distract myself, anything. And also not be productive. But there's times when I'm really anxious and I recognize I don't want to go to sleep, because, like, and I wake up and I'm like happy to be alive kind of thing, but it's like, it's not just like, yeah, it's beautiful, everything's great. Like, that's not what it is. It's just like, oh my goodness, I'm alive, awesome. And then I move on with my day. It doesn't last long. That it's like relief. It is not necessarily happiness, it is relief to still be alive. And that's weird to wrestle with when you first wake up in the morning and you're trying to get ready for the day, because it also is like survival mode and like fight or flight type stuff, and it's not, because that's a lot of what anxiety is. It's not my rational brain. It is thinking of things that are not in the present and like trying to wrestle with things I don't need to. So yeah, I stay awake because I like to be alive. I stay awake because I like the feeling of living, and they call sleep the cousin of death, and I don't think that is an unfair moniker. I think that it is accurate, and it's also just, again, it's just, you never know what's going to happen ever, but like, generally, when I'm awake and I'm alive and living and driving around right now, I don't think about, you know, any second I could just have a heart attack and die right now. Like, it could happen. You never know. Something could just friggin' mess up in your brain and you have an aneurysm, or I don't know. Like, there's underlying health conditions that maybe you didn't know about, and they just freak things happen. It's life, right? But I don't think about that very actively or consciously while I'm out in the world being alive. But when I go to sleep, I definitely think about those things more. I don't have trouble sleeping. A lot of people with anxiety issues have trouble falling asleep. Generally, I don't. Every once in a while, if my anxiety is really bad, I do. But even when it is really bad, I generally just don't have a hard time falling asleep once I commit to the idea of sleep. But the problem is I have an issue with committing to the idea of sleep, because that also feels like one step closer to death, and I don't know how to break away from that when I'm in anxiety mode, because anxiety is not rational. So I don't know. I don't know what to do about that other than like, okay, like, again, focus on doing some of those things that you should be doing, like maybe meditating before bed, getting some time to do that. That might help. I'm sure it would help. I just need to actually do it, is the thing. But that's a reality. That's a thing. And I've just been thinking about why that is, of just like the thing of sleep. Because like what I'll do is I'm too tired by that time to read. because that's something I want to do. There's nothing to do with anxiety. I want to read before bed, just that being a routine. If I'm too tired, I just can't read. Because again, I don't have a problem falling asleep. It is a problem with the idea of committing to sleep. So, yeah, I usually don't burp on camera. I usually end up on my phone looking at Instagram reels and stories and stuff is what happens. And I can do that and get these little dopamine hits, just like ping, 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 and just want to keep going and be like, well, let me find a video that's funnier than that one. Or like, okay, last one. Oh, that one wasn't a good one. Let's go to another one. Okay, 5 more minutes, 5 more minutes, 5 more minutes turns into an hour. And that happens generally more so when I'm anxious than when I'm not. It's hard to break away from that habit. But that's what I was trying to think about. Is like, why does that happen? Why do I not want to go to sleep? And I know that it's like hard. Again, most people are like, I want to go to bed and get this day over with, and then they can't because their mind is like working overload. And my mind does do that when I am awake, and that's part of why listening to podcasts and watching Instagram reels and stuff can distract me from those thoughts. But those thoughts generally don't keep me awake. For the most part, those thoughts and feelings aren't keeping me awake. So, like, it's just put it down and go to bed. Like, part of it is just a horrible habit that I have created, but part of that horrible habit that has been created is because of anxiety and not wanting to go to bed, not wanting to face a step closer to death. It's not that conscious all the time. Like, it's rarely ever that conscious. It's just me discussing it is being like, yeah, that's what it is, though. In the moment, I don't feel that. Like, very rarely I'm like, oh, if I go to sleep, I'm gonna die. Like, I don't want to do that. And it's rarely like a feeling of what I call doom, which is like just my highest level of anxiety, where it feels like I am gonna die, like right then. That's not what I'm feeling generally. It's just that now it feels weird because I stopped. Yeah, generally it's not like that. So I'm just giving that full picture right now and defining it because that's what it is, but that's all underneath. It's not that forward at all. It's just, yeah, it's some stuff that's just there, but I'm not feeling it in the moment. So like when I go to bed in like 20 minutes or whatever, I'm not going to actually be like, oh man, I'm scared to go to sleep because I'm going to die. Like, that's not what it is. It's just like, I don't want to go to sleep. Let's just keep doing this. Like, whatever. I just keep going and going and going with whatever and not go to sleep. It's like, well, I need to do that anyway. I need to do this. And like, and part of it is like, I'll start to get ideas and like start to whatever. And I can keep myself awake forever. It doesn't matter how tired I am. I can just keep going. Like, really, it's easy for me to stay awake despite how tired I am, which sucks. But yeah, I don't know what else to say about it. It is interesting, not super fun, but I also need to create better habits. I just do. I just need to do that. There's no other way around it. So anyway, can't go to sleep. Clowns will eat me.